Hey everyone, I'm Tarini Sood and welcome back to another episode of The Making Of. Our guest today is an enthusiastic artisanal cheesemaker and the co-founder of Darima Farms in Kumaon in Nainital. What's special about this food entrepreneur is that through his venture, he not only produces quality cheese but also gives back to his local community on which the venture depends. We welcome Arvind Chawla.
Hi Tarini, it's my pleasure and thank you for having me on the show.
So Arvind, can you tell me a little bit about what your early life was like?
My early life was fairly simple. I was born into a middle-class family of technocrats, highly educated technocrats. So I grew up in central Delhi. Vacations were always the hills. That's where the love for the hills. My first 3 years of my life were actually spent in the northeast, in Arunachal, which was again in the hills. So I grew up in a house which had apple orchards.
So that's always fresh food then.
It's always been fresh fruit, fruit, and I principally feel that that's what has I think been the reason why I love food so much.
Arvind, I just want to start off by asking you, how did the idea for making artisanal cheese first come to you?
So it was in 2014. Saurabh and I met in Mukteshwar, where he builds these gorgeous houses. I was visiting him to check out one of the places, and he and I got down to actually talk about various stuff. And somewhere, he wanted to do stuff in the organic space. I always wanted to do something in the food space after my, few years at the hotels in the initial part of my career. So we went through a lot of ideas, So we talked about a berry farm, we talked about aggregation of fruits, and somewhere we found that there was potential for something like a cheese farm or like a creamery concept like in the US. And we believed that this niche existed and it could be possibly large enough to create value in. So I think that's where it started, 2014.
Okay. So how would you say you came up with the flavors for the cheeses that you wanted to create? Like, can you give us a little bit of insight into the process?
So interestingly, the flavors, see, first we obviously went for the low-hanging fruit. We went for the international varieties that we enjoyed. So we went for the Gruyères, Goudas, inspirations of these products, or means cheeses. Also, some of them which were basically comparatively unknown to India, like a Montasio, which is a comparatively unknown Italian cheese. Then we started experimenting with stuff. We started playing with Indian infusion into some of these Western cheeses. And we came up with Zarai, which was basically, I would say even credited to one of our team members, Preetham. She played around with Uttarakhandi spices, oil mix, and I think came the Zarai. Then we thought about playing with chilies because it's such a powerful ingredient. And we came up with chili bomb. So entirely, I think it's been a lot of hit and try. It's been a lot of play of ideas, some fantasies, and it's culminated into few flavors which have actually gained prominence.
Okay. What would you say is unique about Darima cheeses?
See, interestingly, like wine, you can't do away with the origin of the grape or the variety of grape.
Right.
I think the most unique thing about the Arima is the fact that the milk comes from the Himalayas and it comes from non-dairy backgrounds. It comes from single family households, which is aggregated by us. So obviously there is a social angle also to the venture. There are these families that are being positively impacted by this. And I think the USP really is firstly the milk, because without good milk, you can't make good cheese. That's honestly what it is. And other USP is obviously no chemicals, no preservatives, which to a great degree is unique in India because we've grown up used to processed cheese, which is primarily, means filled with some of these things. Not demeaning them, but the fact is, I think the USP is that it is non-chemical and non-preservative based.
So what would you say would have been your biggest obstacle in reaching where you are today?
The obstacle for a young startup brand, especially in a niche space, always is acceptability. So it took years of standing every Sunday after Sunday at farmer markets myself. getting people to try, people gaining confidence. I think acceptability is a challenge because you're not a big, large MNC brand where you have tons of money to get brand awareness, do all of those things. It is a passion venture, which is trying to be a legible business.
Right.
Secondly, I think the biggest challenge in India is because the European style cheese industry doesn't really exist formally. Either you have industrial cheese, which is made in factories. Artisan cheese as a concept does not predominantly exist. So I think getting the equipment for producing the stuff was a challenge. We had to customize everything. We had to make mistakes, learn, unlearn. So I think that was really, the single two biggest obstacles that we faced.
So I want to ask you, for you, what do you think about social media? Now, it's a very powerful tool. How do you say you would use it to promote your brand or to sort of, sell your products even better?
See, I think social media is really, the new age of connectivity. I do believe it is the future of connectivity because everything's going virtual. Human connect only exists outside the screens in very limited formats. Either it's your immediate colleagues or your immediate family. So I think social media is really that single most powerful tool that really kind of connects all of us. For us, I think Instagram has really worked. Facebook also greatly, but I think Instagram mostly. We didn't even have a website till about 2 months back in the 3 years of existence. So I do believe that for us, Instagram has been all in all with its our 6,000 followers, which are like a family. We see people engaging, we see people talking, promoting us. So yeah, I think it is the most crucial thing in today's times.
So, Arvind, you would have heard about Maggie India's collaboration with India Food Network for the Upna Food Business Campaign, where Maggie India is actually offering home chefs a chance to showcase their talent by offering them a chance to start their own food delivery service and a chance to start their own online food business. What do you think about this campaign?
I think it's such a powerful campaign because if it existed when I was going to hospitality school, I would have been one of the forerunners for putting my name in a challenge like this. I have this deep-seated desire to really wanted to be a chef, but in the 90s, being born to a family of technocrats, it wasn't possibly the most acceptable career choice I would have had on the offering. But I think this is so powerful because the pandemic has taught us that I think staying at home, working from home, experimenting with your creativity, latent talents coming to the fore, because I think people have got a chance to really delve deeper and deeper into their own being and realize what they really want.
Yeah.
I may be a corporate guy, I may be a passionate food entrepreneur, but deep down, I just want to be a chef and I want to see smiles on people's faces when I cook. So I think it is so amazing. It's such a powerful thing. I think Maggie and Nestle would be doing in order to promote this idea.
Okay, if there was any advice that you could give young chefs or food entrepreneurs who are just about starting out in their careers, what would that advice be?
I would say, interestingly, you have to first be very, very convinced that this is what you want. Second, identify that niche. Because in the big spaces, in the big segments, there is already a huge presence of bigger companies or bigger entities. So you have to find your niche and understand if that niche is large enough for you to actually make it a legible business or something worthwhile. So I think that would be my advice, that be very, very thoughtful of and mindful about what you're doing and be sure that you're doing it and that's what you want to do. So.
Okay, Arvind, before we wind up, I've got a few quick questions for you. If you could just answer them with whatever comes into your head first. Should we start?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your favorite food in the world?
See, food in my mind is genetics and conditioning. So being Punjabi, the first thing that comes to my mind is butter chicken. But my conditioned self, having widely traveled, I would say Italian food and a very simple thing as aglio olio, spaghetti, means very, very simple. That's my to die for. So,
Okay, your favorite cheese?
I can have two options on that. Gruyere, yes, the Swiss Gruyere is something that I really adore. That's the reason we tried to replicate it to whatever degree we could. Second is our own, the chili worm, which is a Darima cheese. Yeah.
What is the one ingredient you can't imagine food without?
Garlic.
Okay. And in one word, if you could tell me how you see the Indian food landscape evolving in the future, what would that word be?
Boom.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today, Arvind. I'm sure our audiences have got a great insight into what it's like to be a food entrepreneur. Thank you for your time again.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you all for tuning in today. We'll be back again next week with another special guest.